Um, of course, we had our review of the game against Nashville and keep addressing the things that we said from day one in order to improve is to learn the lessons from each and every game. And this was a big lesson to learn going forward from the Nashville game. And when you have to compete at this level, you cannot afford to start matches that way. And we've had that a couple of times. So sometimes you think we're a little slow in learning, and this was a good moment to show that we're fast learners, and so it was on pitch.
The team is probably going through its best point of the year so far, but throughout the season, you've had a much better record against winning teams versus losing teams. Now, since DC only has one win in their last 17 MLS games since May 3rd, how do you avoid to what we call here a classic trap game against DC?
Yeah, that's the interesting one because we're coming off two quite impressive results and pretty decent games. For us, it's simple. You mentioned it in the beginning of your first question. It's about the finals that we're playing. So it doesn't matter who we play. It's about us and only us and how we're gonna proceed going forward to get ourselves into the playoffs in the best possible shape. And DC is one of the teams that we have to face. And as I said, we'll be focusing on ourselves and nothing else. Their results haven't gone their way, but that is something that we just take with us in preparing this match. But then it's again all about ourselves.
Does It's not the same level, but just for comparison's sake, does it help your argument in all of this of what happened to Manchester United yesterday? The fact that they're playing a team that they expected to beat and then they didn't?
Yeah, it's for me, it's a little too simple. Obviously, Manchester United had a horrific night yesterday in England. I feel for the coach. On the other hand, it's the expectation that is there. You represent one of the biggest clubs in the world, and you play against a League Two team, so everybody expects you to win. Anything else than that is humiliation, and that's how it works in our world. And I think the coaches and the players realize this themselves very well. On our level, we've had the moment in Pittsburgh, which was also a big deception for us. But as I mentioned just now in a few other questions you asked, it's about learning and making progress, and that's what we're focusing on.
Thank you.
All right.
Oliver?
Hi, thank you. This is Oliver Strand with Hudson River Blue.
Hi, Oliver.
Hi. Um, the last two games were won with goals in the second half, and the performances by NYCFC in the second half were really strong. One, I'm curious about what halftime is like. Do you give a speech? Is it motivational? Is it tactical? And also, how much are you changing and adjusting, or how much are you sticking with a plan that bears fruit in the second half?
Well, we'll always have to see what happens or what happened during the first half in order to address the things that we need to address during halftime. So, taking that in account, that decides and determines how I go into the dressing room to address my team and getting them prepped and ready for the second half. Nashville was an interesting one because we had a very slow start, went behind against one of the better teams in the league, and then we had the weather delay just after we scored the equalizer. So the whole scenario for the first game, for the game against Nashville, is nowhere near to compare with the game against Cincinnati. So that also determines again what is being dealt with during halftime.
Chris?
Hey, Coach, Chris Campbell from the outfield.
Hi.
DC hasn't played very well so far this year, but they do present an interesting challenge. They lead the league in long ball attempts. Christian Benteke leads the league by far in aerial duels won. What kind of challenges present to your team, and how do you look to defend them? Thanks.
And
Well, that's going to be an interesting one. If you look at the play styles from the previous two opponents, it's not slightly different, but a big difference compared to the strategy that DC has used in the previous games. So as you mentioned just now, the aerial game is going to be part of the game, especially when DC has possession. So we'll have to deal with that and make sure that we either get good pressure on the first pass going forward, or make sure that we challenge the first duels and make sure that we control the second or the third play coming from the first duel, and then focus mainly on maintaining the ball and taking care of the possession that we have to have in this game in order to get our own dangerous play going forward.
Jonathan?
Hey Pascal, Jonathan Mack, AM New York.
Hi, John.
Hey Pascal. I just wanted to ask, is there a worry amongst you and the coaching staff that there is an over-reliance of goals from Alonso Martinez? And if so, what are some things that you guys are doing to spread the goals throughout the squad?
No, we're not worried at all about that. Alonso is our top striker, as many clubs have a top striker who represents a huge amount of scoring goals for their sides. That's no difference to our team. I think Hannes is also in a good moment, in a good space, scoring his goals and making sure that he has the assists. Pepe is joining in more. We have Nico, who's been added to the team, Maxi, who prepares goals. So we're not worried about that aspect at all.
Thanks, Pascal.
Back in the room, Roberto.
Pascal, Perea got hurt during the game and he had to be substituted out. Can you give us some progress report on how he's doing and if there are any other injuries on the squad?
Pepe is available, so he's back in the squad and ready to play for tomorrow. The others are the usuals, unfortunately. Keats, Malachi is not available. Nico Carvalho is on his way back, but not available yet. So it's looking like Nico might be available again after the FIFA break.
Back to the Zoom, Michael.
Pascal, I was curious, I guess for two. First, an update on Raul Gustavo, but then second, I might be oversimplifying it, but you said that you're treating these last 10 games as finals.
Mm-hmm.
What's different about that than, the first 10 games of the season or the first 20 games of the season?
Well, the approach is not different, but you're in the final stage of the season, and as you probably know as well as I do, the first part of the season you have to make sure that you're still in the game and don't give it away, and ending up chasing the league because you didn't start well. Then the mid part of the season is creating the stability and making sure that you are ready to go into this final phase, and this final phase is all about making sure that you get to that point where you need to be in order to get ready for the playoffs and be in the playoffs, of course. So, and this is the phase in the league where this is going to be determined. So for us, it was very important to be part of this, part of the ranking going forward into the playoffs and having a chance to go into the playoffs, and then making sure that you treat it the best you can in order to get into the best possible shape competing for these playoffs. The second part is Raul, if I'm correct. Yeah, Raul is in the country since yesterday and trained with the squad today. So that's looking good, and we're very happy that he was able to join us.
Dennis.
Thank you, Pascal, for your time. Dennis Gomez from a classic from Washington, D.C. Just want to know what areas do you think would be key battles on the field against DC United, who comes off tying Inter Miami at home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the two previous results are positive from the DC perspective. If you get a draw against one of the strongest teams in the league, Miami, that's huge, considering the fact where DC is at the moment in the league and what happened at the club. So they will use these positive moments going forward and making sure that they try to end the season as strong as they can. At the moment, they're not in a good position because they're not able to get into the playoffs anymore. But looking ahead and making sure that you have a competitive side going to the final stages of the league season, that is what they're looking for. So for us, it's very important that we are aware of this and making sure that we focus on our own targets. And that is what I explained to you guys just now. Our main goal is to get ourselves into the playoffs in the best possible shape.
Christian.
Hi, Coach. There have been 7 games where Aiden O'Neill's attempted over 50 passes. You've won 6 and only drawn one. What does it say about the team and their ability to win games when he's on the ball more consistently?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's those are numbers that we're looking at as well. Aiden and myself, we have conversations on a regular basis, making sure that the game plan and the game understanding is there and develops itself. And his part and his role within this process is huge. And that is one of the things that we discussed when he was interested to come and do this project. So it shows that Aiden is feeling good and making sure that he understands how we want to play in and out of possession, and the team realizes the qualities of Aiden and vice versa as well.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Vote early?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, when you come to a new club, new team, that can take a little bit to see things earlier. Sometimes it can be you're seeing it at the same time as everyone. So, yeah, I think, on a couple of occasions here now in the last couple of weeks, I've seen it quite early, and, I've sort of just anticipated what I was going to do and, executed that, well, and yeah, got us on the front foot quite quickly and then gave us the opportunity to score.
Is that the way you tried to play throughout your career? I mean, if you're in the midfield, you do want to see things early, or is it a little bit more emphasized here, the transition element?
Yeah, it's something we, really work on here, with the gaffer and in training. When you win the ball, if we can play forward straight away and into, our really forward thinking players and our dangerous players as quickly as possible when, the opposition, might be up the pitch or, quite high. We can really hurt people with the players that we have.
So are you always kind of trying to look at the back line, see where it's situated in comparison to where Alonso is set up?
Yeah, for sure. He's shown time and time again how dangerous he is. If he can be one-on-one or, sometimes even 2v1 at the back. Centre backs aren't really sure at times what to do with him. And yeah, he's an excellent player, and if you give him too many opportunities, he'll score goals.
You go with Roberto.
Aiden Pascal has mentioned that these last 10 games are 10 finals as the team tries to make the playoffs. Against Nashville, the team started out slow, got its act together, I guess, midway through the first half, and then reacted positively in the second half and got the win. Against Cincinnati, team came out very strong, front foot from the beginning. What were the differences between both games, and what were the message in between both games that made sure that the team came out strong in the second game?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and it's something we speak about, coming out fast. I'm sure every team speaks about, starting fast, and we definitely didn't do that against Nashville. And yeah, we really spoke about it every day, before the game, about making sure that, we start on the front foot. And I think, yeah, we did that in our last game, and it showed. And I think we really controlled, the game, especially away from home. If people were watching the game, I felt like we were the home team. And then obviously right at the end there, they had their spell where they were pushing, a lot of players forward, and that's sort of where our goal came from. They lost possession, the ball through the middle from me into Maxi, and then Alonso doing what he does. But yeah, I think it is very important that we come out and start fast.
Against teams that have a winning record, the team is 7-2-2 so far this season, and it's not as good against teams that don't have a good record. DC has not been a good team this year. As you approach final number 3, as we look at this, how do you make sure that the team doesn't have a mental letdown thinking, it's an easy game, which we know it's not?
Yeah, it's something we've spoke about again, as a team, and when we're watching video of, the other teams, we've spoke about, how we've done against, higher opposition or teams that are further down the ladder, and something that we definitely have to work on and improve on. And, I think it starts, on Saturday.
Thank you.
We'll go to the Zoom. Oliver.
Hi, thank you. This is Oliver Strand with Hudson River Blue. You're on the tail end of your first summer in MLS, and I have a question about what it's like to play in this league after playing in Belgium. In terms of the travel, the distance obviously is much greater. In terms of the climate, in terms of the conditions, it's probably closer to your native Australia. But I doubt that Australia has like Orlando and Dallas in August, you know? Does that affect the games? Does it affect the quality of the play? And I'm also just curious in your overall impression of making this adjustment to MLS in North America.
Yeah, overall, I'm really, really enjoying being here, being in the MLS, being at New York. It really feels like my new home. Um, in terms of the heat, yeah, I mean, I think that really took me by surprise. And because I haven't played in Australia in summer for so long, I think, yeah, that was a big adjustment and it hit me harder than I thought it would in terms of, lasting 90 minutes. And I think it can affect the play at times. I think later on in the game, you can see it a little bit, especially in some of those really, really hot games. I do it in degrees, but when it's, obviously above like 35 degrees, it can get pretty, pretty tough to, obviously to concentrate and yeah, you're sweating a lot. So yeah, keeping the concentration can be quite tough at times. But I think, yeah, I started to really adjust it. Now it's starting to cool down quite a bit, which is really nice. And I think you'll see the quality go up a little bit especially towards, later on in games. I don't think you'll have that little bit of a drop off.
Michael?
Aiden, it's Mike Ander from Blue City Radio. Thanks for the time. In the last two games, statistically, you played two of the strongest attacking midfielders in Hani Mukhtar and Evander, but they also were two of the games where people would say you had your best performances. Did you feel that they were stronger competitors, or do you just think you've elevated your game to improve?
Yeah, I think I've just hit the stride here, in terms of understanding, my role, other people's role, and movement from other players in the team and where I fit in there. And then the last two games, obviously, like you said, that quality players and a role of mine during those games was to try and shut those guys down and make sure they don't have the opportunities that they're given sometimes because they're quality players and they can punish you. And yeah, I felt like I competed with them and I enjoyed that, to be honest.
Matt?
Hey, Aiden, Matt Mangum, Hudson River Blue. Kind of building off that question from Mike, you were obviously named to the MLS Team of the Match Day after the Cincinnati win for your performance. So, as in recently, you kind of made a name for yourself with some of these performances, like against Cincinnati and Nashville. So, just kind of talk about your role for the rest of the season, where New York City is still in a playoff race. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. Our aim is to be in the playoffs, and like we spoke about before, we've got 8 finals left now, and yeah, it's exciting. And I just want to keep building on my performances and the team's performance, and keep growing as a team and keep progressing our football.
Chris?
Hey, Aiden, Chris Campbell from the outfield. You've mentioned, getting more settled in the team and understanding where players are. How has the addition of Nico Fernandez Marcao changed the way that you guys are attacking? He hasn't gotten on the score sheet yet, but you guys seem to be in a better flow now that he's joined the starting 11.
Yeah, I think you guys can see, he's obviously, an incredible footballer and brings a lot of flair like into the team in terms of in between the lines and final passes. He's extremely talented and yeah, there's a reason they brought him in here and he's settled in so quickly and adjusted to the way that we want to play. And yeah, he's an unbelievable player.
Dennis?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Dennis Gomez from El Clasico from Washington, D.C. And I just want to ask you, DC United has been winless in the last 11 games, but has not lost the last two games under new head coach Renee Weiler. What are some of the aspects that, after watching tape on them, what are some of the aspects that you guys have identified as a team to try to contain them?
Yeah, they've obviously got a threat up top with Benteke. Uh, he's proven goal scorer, in this league and others. So yeah, there's a threat there, and we need to be able to control that. And I think as long as we focus on ourselves and what we want to do, then yeah, the rest will take care of itself.
Back to Glenn.
Thank you.
We talked before we started here about Kai Rolls, who's starts at the back for them, and that you guys are your mates in more than one way, right? So you've been with him on the club level and internationally. Can you describe your relationship?
Yeah, we're really close mates, me and Rolsey, and yeah, we've obviously played together in Australia when I was on loan at Central Coast. Yeah, had a really good relationship there, and yeah, we've always stayed in touch, and then obviously when we get together in the national team as well. So yeah, me and him are really good mates in Australia when we don't live too far from each other as well. And our parents, most of the time we'll go and watch the national team games together, and yeah, it's a special bond we've got, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him on the weekend.
The parents go together, they sit together for
Yeah, for the national team games, they most of the time they'll come and watch, and yeah, they get together before the games and stuff. So yeah, pretty close.
And now you guys can celebrate in the States next summer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's exciting.
Jonathan?
Hey, Aiden, Jonathan Mack in New York. What do you think has changed in and around the squad for the team to be on this 5-match league unbeaten run? And could you speak a little on the locker room atmosphere with 8 games left in the season?
Yeah, I think we've had a bit of stability in terms of maybe, our starting 11 hasn't changed too much. I mean, that's obviously down to, obviously good performances and good results. And I think, something's just really switched in us in terms of what all our roles are in the team, and, how to score goals and not concede too many. I think, yeah, our understanding of each other and where we are on the pitch is just getting better and better every week. So I think that's, yeah, made us, go on a good run of fixtures.
Final one, Christian?
Hello, and I'm going to bore you with some stats first. Just looking at the numbers, if you hit 43 or complete 43 passes or above, the team seems to win or at least draw. I think Saturday was only beaten by one game for you in terms of passes completed. I'm curious, when the ball's running through you a lot, how does that alter your ability to influence things?
I think it gives me the opportunity to try control it a lot more. And I think the MLS, in terms of when I first came, it was quite transitional, and I wasn't able to, really grab a game and control the midfield as such. But yeah, that's an interesting stat which I didn't know. But yeah, I think when we can play through the midfield with me and Pepe in there, and we can control, how fast we go forward and attack and control the momentum of the game, I think that's where we can, yeah, get good results. And yeah, obviously I enjoy that as well, as the more we get the ball through the midfield and we can keep it central, I think, yeah, that's where we're a big threat.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody.